When you get rejected by a person, a job, a friend, you feel it in your chest. That tightness, that hollow ache, that sensation that something has actually broken inside you. And for years, people were told to simply get over it, to toughen up, that it was just emotions, that nothing physical was actually happening. They were wrong. Brain scans show that social rejection activates the exact same neural pathways as physical pain. The same regions, the same signals, the same brain. So if rejection has ever floored you, if it's ever felt bigger than you thought it should, this video is going to explain exactly why. And more importantly, it's going to prove that what you felt was never weakness. It was biology. In 2003, neuroscientist Naomi Eisenberger at UCLA ran a now famous experiment. She put participants inside an fMRI scanner, a machine that tracks which parts of the brain become active in real time, and had them play a simple computer game. They were tossing a virtual ball back and forth with two other players online. Then, without warning, the other players stopped passing the ball to them. They were left out, excluded, mid-game, for no stated reason. And here is what the brain scans showed. The participants' dorsal anterior cingulate cortex lit up. That's the region of your brain most strongly associated with the asterisk suffering component of physical pain. The same region that activates when you burn your hand, when you break a bone, when your body registers something is physically wrong. Being left out of a ball game for a few minutes with strangers they'd never met triggered genuine pain circuitry. In 2011, psychologist Nathan Kross at the University of Michigan took this further. His team recruited people who had recently been through unwanted romantic breakups. They showed them a photo of their ex-partner while inside a brain scanner, and then applied a mild heat stimulus to their forearm. The finding was striking. Looking at the photo of someone who rejected them activated the same brain regions as the physical heat, specifically the secondary somatosensory cortex and the dorsal posterior insula. These are areas traditionally associated not just with the emotional distress of pain, but with the asterisk sensation of pain itself. The brain was not metaphorically equating rejection with pain. It was literally processing them through the same hardware. Now, why would your brain be wired this way? Why would losing a relationship hurt the same way as losing a limb? The answer goes back roughly 6 million years. For the vast majority of human history, being excluded from your social group wasn't just uncomfortable, it was a death sentence. You couldn't hunt alone. You couldn't survive a cold night alone. You couldn't protect yourself from predators alone. The group was everything. So the brain, over millions of years of evolution, developed a very smart alarm system. It borrowed the physical pain signal, the most powerful alert mechanism the body has, and applied it to social threats as well. Dr. Nathan DeWall, a psychologist at the University of Kentucky, explains it this way. Just as we have fundamental needs for food and water, we have a fundamental need to belong. And when that need is threatened, the brain sounds the same alarm it would if your physical survival were at risk. In other words, your brain cannot always distinguish between a broken arm and a broken relationship, because for millions of years, losing your place in the tribe was just as dangerous as either. What feels irrational, the intensity of it, the way a text message can ruin your entire week, is actually your ancient survival system doing exactly what it was designed to do. Now here is where it gets genuinely fascinating. If social pain uses the same brain systems as physical pain, what happens if you treat it like physical pain? DeWall and Eisenberger decided to test exactly that. They split participants into two groups. One group took a standard daily dose of acetaminophen, the active ingredient in Tylenol. The other group took a placebo. For 3 weeks, every evening, participants rated how much emotional hurt they had experienced that day. The result? The acetaminophen group reported significantly less social pain, fewer hurt feelings, less emotional distress from day-to-day slights and rejections. Then they ran the experiment again in an fMRI scanner. The participants who had taken acetaminophen for 3 weeks showed measurably reduced activity in the pain-related brain regions when they were excluded from a virtual game, compared to those on the placebo. A physical painkiller, reducing the brain's response to social rejection. Now, this doesn't mean you should take Tylenol after a breakup. Researchers are careful to note that the brain systems involved, while overlapping, are not completely identical. And medication is not a substitute for processing the experience. But what the study proves, beyond any doubt, is that social pain is not imaginary. It is not weakness. It is a real neurobiological event happening inside a real brain. So what do you do with this? First, stop apologizing for how much rejection hurts. The intensity of your pain is not a character flaw. It is evidence that you are a deeply social human being with a brain doing its job correctly. The alarm is supposed to go off. Second, understand that your brain needs time to register that the threat is over. Just as a broken bone doesn't heal because you decide to feel better, the neural response to rejection doesn't simply switch off because you tell yourself to move on. Give yourself the same patience you would give a physical injury. Third, connection is the antidote, not isolation. Eisenberger's research found that social support, the physical presence of someone who cares about you, even briefly, actually dampens the brain's pain response. Reaching out after rejection isn't neediness. It's neuroscience. Rejection hurts because your brain was built to make it hurt. That's not a design flaw. It's the reason humans survived long enough to build civilizations, raise children, and form every meaningful connection that has ever existed. The pain was always the point. If this video helped you understand yourself a little better, subscribe, because every week on this channel, we take one feeling that's hard to explain and give it the explanation it deserves. The next one might just be the one you've been waiting for.